You're listening to the Brilliant Breakthroughs podcast with your host, Maggie Mogan.
Hi, small business owners. Welcome to the Brilliant Breakthroughs podcast, where we focus on creating brilliant breakthroughs for the small business owner. And FYI, this is also the name of the #1 Amazon best-selling business book series for small businesses. It's titled Brilliant Breakthroughs for the Small Business Owner, and the subtitle is Fresh Perspectives on Profitability, People, Productivity, and Finding Peace in Your Business. And you can get the digital copy or paperback through Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, all sorts of places. And the book that we're referencing today in the series is Volume 2, and it has an emerald green cover. So today's conversation is with #1 best-selling business author from the 2018 book, Nancy Clairmont Carr. Hi, Nancy.
Hi, Maggie.
Welcome.
How are you today?
Oh, we're good. We're good. Welcome back. Are you ready to wow us?
I am so excited to share some good stuff.
Cool. So I should probably introduce myself first, and then we're going to dive into you, and I'll share the rest of who you are, okay?
Okay.
Besides awesome. So rock stars in the small business world, my name is Maggie Mogan. I'm #1 best-selling business author and creator of this great best-selling annual book series for small businesses. It's titled Brilliant Breakthroughs for the Small Business Owner. And for over 15 years, I've been a master business coach and trainer at Brilliant Breakthroughs, Inc., simply helping small businesses transform to be more successful. So that's me. Let's get back to Nancy. Nancy, you rock. You've been doing some really cool things lately.
I think I have too. A lot of new programming and ways to get the message out.
And that's what matters, because people need to know you exist, because you can help them considerably. And small business owners, I want to share with you, you can go to the Emerald Green book, which is 2018's version. And in the second chapter, Nancy authored a really cool chapter titled Higher Consciousness Creates Higher Profitability. And I love this because it's really a fresh perspective on how to look at your profit, and it starts with who we are and what we're all about, doesn't it, Nancy?
It absolutely does. Everything around us reflects what we are inside, and so that includes our business.
Right. And you've tapped into something that a lot of people don't talk about in business, and that's why I invited you to author with us, because you do have a fresh perspective for small business. And before we go further and crack this little nut open, I want to share with everyone, Nancy has prior episodes on this podcast, and they're numbers 62, 68, 72, 82, and 91. Because after you hear today, I know you're going to want to go back and check out the rest of what she said. Because she told me we're going to wrap up her topic, but we're going to do it in a very different way. So are you ready, Nancy?
I am. Thanks, Maggie.
Cool. So you do a lot of work around energy and the energetics of who we are, what we are, and how we are, right?
That's correct. I do. I do energy healing. I do energy work. And what I do, if I could share with you how that is manifested in my work, I'd like to start there. That sound good?
Yeah, let's talk about how that shows up. Energy healing shows up in your coaching business.
Yeah. So as Maggie said, the chapter I wrote, Higher Consciousness Creates Higher Profitability, I shared there what higher consciousness does for the business owner and what it delivers to the business owners. And we discussed many aspects of that already in the first 5 podcasts. So in this 6th podcast, I wanted to pull it all together and discuss what I do as a transformation coach that creates higher consciousness and sort of what my secret sauce is. So
Cool.
that's kind of what I want to focus on today. Um, the secret sauce actually allows the business owner to operate at a much higher level with less effort and creating businesses that deliver the impact and lifestyle that they desire. And that secret sauce is higher consciousness energy healing. And so I'm not sure what the listener's version or understanding of energy healing is, but I want to just talk about what it means for me and how I use it in my business. So as a transformation coach for business owners, in addition to helping them with business strategy and coaching mindset and some of those typical coaching strategies, I incorporate energy healing so that they can double or triple their business very profitably with less effort. And so, what maybe the question might be, well, what is energy healing and what does it do? So, I was not very familiar with energy healing, before 2007. And so that was a question I had when I was referred to my now energy coach. So I
Okay,
guess
so Nancy, what is it and what does it do?
two, exactly. So let's just start with a kind of a simple definition. Energy healing is a practice that activates the body's subtle energy system so it can remove the blocks and negative influences and allow your body, mind, and spirit to heal, which then helps you with forward movement towards your intention. And what that means in simple layman's terms is just wipes away the roadblocks and helps you get where you're going quicker. So on our last podcast, I talked on number 5, I talked a little bit about how the 3 different energy centers, physical, mental, and emotional/spiritual, how they work together and how what impacts one impacts the whole thing because we are so energetically connected.
Right.
What I want to comment on is I named my business The Joy Effect for a reason. And the reason I chose that is in the world of consciousness and in the world of higher consciousness, joy represents actually a calibration of energy that defines how an individual lives, what their experiences are, what their views of the world are, which is seen through a lens of joy, abundance in all areas, and an opportunity to experience personal freedom. So, in addition to everything flowing more smoothly in their world with less resistance and more opportunities showing up, more inner peace, I really feel like one of the most significant results of achieving this joy effect is that this individual at that level, what they have, the light that they shine on others is so profound, it actually helps others rise to a higher level.
Amen.
Yeah, so that's really why I named my business The Joy Effect. And so I think we actually discussed on maybe podcast 2 or 3 that we actually do calibrate at these different energetic levels, consciousness levels. And at the time I mentioned that the level of love is actually level 500, and that a person who resonates or calibrates at that level can positively influence 750,000 people. And so you and I talked about what that means. That's a pretty powerful impact, but actually joy is a little bit higher than that. So you can imagine how one might feel by reaching that level. And if the listener actually wants to learn more about it, they're welcome to visit my website, which interestingly enough is named thejoy-effect.com. Or they can find it with just my name, nancyclairmontcarr.com. So what I do actually to help people create this lens and this lifestyle is energy healing. So let's just move the curtains aside and talk a little bit more about what's behind that. So I literally help people remove the layers of negativity, patterns from ancestral and other lifetimes, and all of that negative influence that really stands in the way of achieving their goals and key intentions. And if you think about it, energy is ever present. Energy is everywhere. So I actually work remotely with most people. Most of my clients don't live where I live. And that's not really an issue. It's just, that's the way it is. It's just as effective. What matters most is what intentions people have. And so after a person can identify what their intention is, and I help them with that a lot. I connect into their energy field, and I'm then actually guided to what energetic strategy, what protocol to use to do that clearing and healing. And the result of that work is that it minimizes the gap. I have this thing, I call it the gap between what you're thinking and what you want to create. And so we pull that gap together by clearing away these negative influences.
Is, I have a question for you. During that gap, is that gap the same thing as resistance, or is resistance something different? Because you spoke about you just interjected the word resistance a little bit ago.
Mm-hmm. Actually, that's a great insight and observation, and that's exactly what we do. So, why would you need energy work to maybe remove that resistance? Why can't you just put your nose to the grindstone, work super hard, push all objects aside, and focus, 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 right?
Right.
Well, you can do that. You can if you want to, and you still might need to do some of that. Here's a different way of looking at it, though. What if we could smooth that road and help remove those obstacles almost magically, much more effortlessly, um, so that you could accomplish your intention in less time? So that's actually what we do with energy healing is we minimize or completely heal the resistance. And if done properly, Maggie, higher consciousness energy healing, which is the kind I work with, is cumulative, it's exponential in its effect, and it's permanent. So now I've been a coach for over 20 years. I started off as a health coach, and then I became a business coach, and I incorporate all of that. I did a much more traditional coaching for many years. And now that I do transformational coaching with energy healing, I cannot tell you the profound difference and the speed of change that happens using energy healing. So it's pretty profound and very effective. So let's get back to your word resistance. What is resistance? I think the audience is going to really relate to this concept. Normally, we all have lots of resistance, and here's how it shows up. It can be a limiting belief that just gets in your way. You don't see things, or you think you can only approach something a certain way. It could be negative self-talk, trauma. It could be acting like a victim, right? The blame is all outside of us.
Yeah.
It could be having mental health challenges, such as depression or anxiety, or feeling overwhelmed, or it could be just some physical challenge. And I know you and I have and maybe are dealing with some certain physical challenges. So we've all been there. And so that resistance gets in the way of perhaps moving forward as quickly as we'd like to. The thing is, and the beauty is of energy work, it can remove and heal completely all of those forms of resistance if you give it time. And that's what I love about it. It really clears the path to our intentions. That's just kind of a little bit about resistance.
Well, I love that, because while you were talking, the words that I wrote down before you even said it was, this is efficient and effective.
Yep, exactly. So I was going to mention that later, but let me just bring that point up right now. If you can remove obstacles in your way more effortlessly, and you can get results more quickly, you have the ability to put that energy into other areas of your life that, for many, many years I didn't, because I didn't understand this concept. And you can create what, Sharon Lecter calls in Think and Grow Rich for Women, a big life. You can create a life where you are enjoying all aspects of your life. And that's really what I strive to do with my clients, is to help them reach that stage, and that state of mind and that state of energy field where they don't have to put as much energy into creating double and triple growth and creative new strategies and all of that. So it really is a wonderful strategy to create a more holistic life. So I want to just talk about something quickly here that differentiates forms of energy work. Okay.
Okay.
So I am certified in Reiki and other forms of energy healing, but that is actually not the kind of energy healing I'm talking about here. So I want to be very clear with the work I do, because I'm sure your listeners are going, well, how can healing touch, create that kind of change? Well, that's not exactly what I'm talking about. Not to say healing touch and Reiki and a lot of those forms are powerful in and of themselves for different purposes. The work that I do, the higher consciousness energy healing I do, changes brain patterns, employs neuroplasticity to create new beliefs, strips away things like depression and anxiety, and it changes your energy patterns so completely over time that it's like a snake who shed a skin they no longer want. It removes their old body, and it literally removes the feelings that prevent you from creating from a new vantage point. And so that's the kind of energy healing I'm talking about. And it's easily done with people. And I actually give them tools to do it themselves, which is the cool piece. It's not just me all the time doing the work. Um, so I think that's the fun part, is people can take this and run with them and to create all kinds of outcomes that they weren't able to, to create before. So the results are powerful.
Cool. All right. So you told us what you do, why it matters, this whole resistance thing, that doesn't have to be so dang difficult.
Exactly.
And then my question is, now that we have all that, how does this relate to business owners?
Okay, I think that's a fair question. So because I know that this form of energy healing is powerful and it's predictable, it can be very useful. And had I not gone through a transformation myself using this work, I couldn't talk to or know beyond a shadow of a doubt, Maggie, that the power and the transformation that's available through this form of change. And, if your listeners actually want to know more about it, they can actually sign up for a free consult to know how that might affect them by going to my website. So feel free to do that. But some of the results that they might be interested in to help them understand it more, there's a couple examples I think I'll share. One is a 10-year-old daughter of a client I worked with who has anxiety. So you may not think a 4 out of 10 anxiety is very impactful in one's life, but let me tell you that it is, and getting higher and higher is even more serious. But we were able to get that down to a 0, and so I look at it as, oh my goodness, now look at the fears that are allayed. That is going to allow this little girl to now do kinds of things that she probably never could have done. So that's just a kind of everyday example that a lot of people experience. Anxiety is a very powerful resistance force. It's very powerful. I have another client, a business owner, who actually grew her business over 20%, which may not seem like a big deal, but she's in around the $1 million mark. So that becomes a big deal. And 3 significant things happened to this woman while she was trying to grow her business. First, her house burned down. Then in that same period of time, her father died. And if that wasn't trauma enough, her husband's father died. So we're talking about 3 significant events in a year and a half, less than a year and a half, that most people never experience in a lifetime, or maybe one of them. And through all of this, her testimony to the power of the energy work was profound, how it helped her, get through it, deal with the trauma, focus on her business. And this is the kind of person who still took care of everybody in her family and surpassed all her business and personal goals in that year. So this work can really move resistance. It can move obstacles. It can shorten that gap pretty significantly. Now, you don't have to go through that kind of trauma to benefit, just so you know.
Yay.
Yeah, no kidding. How about us normal folks who are just trying to get through, shiny object distraction syndrome or something like that? Well, really, it's about removing all negative influence, whatever that is for anybody. And most of our little daily resistances are there all the time. They tempt us every day, and they get in the way, right, of really focusing on our goals. So, as a business owner personally, May, I use this energy healing every single day, all day long, in different forms. And I use it to continue to increase my consciousness because, I love having that joy effect. I love that feeling of inner peace, and I love being able to create what I want. I'm not Buddha yet. I can't do it in nanoseconds, but I have shortened the gap. Let's just say that. So that's a feeling of empowerment, right? When you know you're capable of creating much more effortlessly than you used to. I love that. I use it to reach out to the conscious achievers who I know appreciate creating flow in their lives. And I use it to live the kind of lifestyle that I choose. And I help my clients do the same. So to me, that's the power of energy healing. And that's why I've woven it into every consult and all of the coaching that I do. And I will tell you, my business clients don't care what farm I use. And when they realize that the tools that I use with them, they get to take forward and use themselves, they're thrilled. Um, so, as you mentioned, as I mentioned in the beginning, they're welcome to go to chapter 2 in the green book and read about higher consciousness creates higher profitability. And they can figure out more about how this might be applicable to their lives and learn from all the other coaches or all the other authors in that book about how to run a small business more effectively.
Yeah, because it doesn't have to be difficult like it once was.
Exactly. Fresh perspectives, as you say.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Is there anything else that you'd like to add before we wrap up?
The only other thing I want to say, thanks for that last question, is I invite listeners to look at moving forward differently. I invite them to consider what would it be like if I didn't have to struggle so much. And I will say that I actually honor the struggle, but I would like to minimize the struggle. I would like to create less struggle and more joy. And so if the listeners are interested in that, I would love to have a conversation with you. So thanks for letting me share what's been so powerful in my life, and really how I'd love to help other people make their life more effortless.
Wonderful. And thank you. So listeners, go ahead and read chapter 2, titled Higher Consciousness Creates Higher Profitability, if you like what Nancy just shared with you, because it is very fascinating. And I also want to share that what Nancy speaks of is scientific evidence. She's not just saying these things, it's been validated through science. And if you'd like to gift your business's performance, start by accepting the invitation that Nancy is offering you at the bottom of her author's page in the chapter. It's at the second last page in the chapter. It's relevant to what she's saying, and it's free for you. Plus, she also has all sorts of social media handles, so you know how to connect with Nancy as well. So here's something that's really cool. If you would like to connect with Nancy directly, you can download our app. It's a free app by going to your app store and typing in Brilliant Biz Book. That's all one word, Brilliant Biz Book. Go ahead and make those B's capital. We like B's around here, Brilliant Biz Book. And once you download it, there's a spot that's titled it's not titled Click. It's titled Ask an Expert. Click on that, and you'll see Nancy Clairmont Carr's name there. And I want to be really specific because we have another Nancy that's an author. So we're speaking with Nancy Clairmont Carr today. Click on her name, type in your question or whatever it is that you want to discuss with her, and she'll reply back to you. I think that's a pretty cool bonus.
Absolutely. I'd love to connect with the listeners. Thank you.
All right. Even if it's like, hey, Nancy, what's your website so I can check out more, right? Do it.
Any questions? Fine. Any question.
And she'll follow up with you on that. So Nancy Clairmont Carr, I'd like to thank you for your wisdom sharing today and for the other 5 episodes that you've created for us.
Thank you, Maggie. It's been such a fun journey working with you, doing the book, the podcast, and I know there's going to be round 3 this year. So good luck to you, and listeners, you have lots more treats coming up with further podcasts. And thank you for listening, and thanks for being open to new perspectives to how you can run your business more efficiently. Thanks again, Maggie.
You got it. And listeners, we appreciate you listening to the Brilliant Breakthroughs podcast, where you learn how to create more brilliant breakthroughs for your small business. We'll be back next week. So until then, shine brightly.